out of their tap is not drinking. This is 2019. One might think that when you turn the tap on, you would get water that is not toxic. But it is not just Paula Brown's home. To be honest with you, until I began traveling around the country. I was out in California near where the farm workers work. Thousands of homes. The most emotional out of my life was in Flint, Michigan, talking to the parents whose kids were poisoned by the lead in the water. They're very hard meeting to deal with. I was in Iowa. We have factory farms in Iowa that are polluting the water. This is a national issue. I'm going to talk about that as well. And let me just thank Dr. Christopher Hall for inviting us to be here. Who one of the great justices on the Supreme Court. Also, that we are great, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure these vital do is you're going to hear from me briefly. Who is a Representative Bamber mentioned.
I moved here about 6 years ago, right when my husband and I got married. We decided we wanted to move back to a rural community, just like what we grew up in. And quickly became friends. I fell in love with them. I fell in love with the people and became actively involved. And one of the things I noticed here in the community, not just Denmark, just Denver County in general, there was a huge disconnect between the resources, availability of things that were accessible to people in our neighboring counties and communities. So I wanted to find out what could I do to help bring that I knew were available to this area, and to learn about this water crisis was indeed something I never ever thought to uncover. I ran for mayor back in 2017, and Ms. Pauline Brown and her husband, Mr. Eugene, reached out to me and brought me this book. And I'm like, what do I do with this book? Lo and behold, fast forward, Denmark had a water crisis, and I was completely oblivious to it. But I was determined, rather if I had won or learned, because I never lose. I either learn how to do it better the next time, or I learn to leave it alone. So I just have to figure out which one it is. Just to, you never, and I want people to be encouraged about that too. Whenever you're fighting these types of battles, is there's never losses. There's always an experience, and out of the experience is what you will get. So I was determined to continue to get to the root of the issue with Denmark's water crisis. What we found was horrific. I mean, it was appalling. I was angry. No, I'm not from Denmark, A lot of people say because I'm not from Denmark, I shouldn't be so heavily vested into this community. But when you find a place where you call home, rather if it's not your home you grew up in, home is where the heart is. And my heart is in Denmark. And I was committed to doing everything I could, despite adversity, to get to the root of the problem. And in doing so, finding out other cities. I don't want this situation to be treated as an isolated event, just like Flint. These are not isolated cases. America has rights. And for our citizens for over 10 years to have to go 20 miles to haul water to provide for their families, and no one was listening, questions are why. So now I want to rip the Band-Aid, because sometimes Band-Aid can cause a sore or an have to let it breathe. It may not look good, but after it heals, sometimes it's non-existent. What I'm getting with this, we want to heal. We had so many years of issues where we just want to heal and go forward. So what you do for this team today, and Sanders and everyone else, is to be able to talk about the primary takeaways from this crisis. To let's talk about those things we need to put on the table. Not baby it, but actually address it so that we can progress and move forward. And most importantly, talk about where we are now and how do we get to where we need to be, especially. And the key with is if we children are going to have to fight tomorrow. And I refuse to have my children fight something that I know I'm well capable of fighting and tacking on. So let's fight these issues. Let's fight these issues. Let's show the world how strong America is and how we unite. This is not about Democrats, Republicans, independents, or anything. We are all Americans, one. We bleed the same. And it's very nice to be on this.
Dina, thank you very much. Our next panelist is Paula Brown, who has fought for clean and safe water here in Denmark for over a decade. And I have the privilege of being in her home a few hours ago. Paula?
It's working?
Yep, hold it close.
Yes. My name is really Pauline Ray Brown. They call me Paula. Some call me Polly. I moved here from Miami, Florida back in 2000. Okay, in 2009, I found the water really bad. In 2000. That's number one. I was afraid to go get a test, but they told me I do not have cancer. But number one, we need water in this town. We need the army to come in here to bring water in here for the children, for all of us. I want y'all to know I'm the one who got Dr. Mott Everett here. I followed the trial on the television when they was doing Flick Mission. And that's how I got hold to Dr. Mott Everett. When I called up there to the police department, he said, no, call the health department. I called the health department. They gave me where he works at Virginia Tech College. He was out of the country. When he got back, he called me. Number one, what he did, he sent me 12
contaminated all the streams in that part of West Virginia, up to Standing Rock, where our Native American brothers and sisters were fighting an oil pipeline going underneath their water source for 16 million people. This is coast to coast. This is a crisis. And where the water is good, you have infrastructure, pipes that are over 100 years old. That's what's wrong here, the pipes. And you can't fix it by putting in a chemical. You can't, because that you're just going to make the situation worse, especially when you're using a chemical that hasn't been approved by the EPA, that is for disinfecting pools, right? This is an unbelievable affront. So what we need is a national program to take a look at all of the ways in which we're harming water, from industry to farming to aging infrastructure. And I'll say one other thing. Where are these things happening? They're not happening on Wall Street. They're not happening in Silicon Valley. They're happening to poor people. They're happening to communities of color. They're happening to people who, like Paula Brown, have to stand up together and fight back for our rights, because water is the most fundamental, basic underpinning of everything we have in our society. What's your first medicine when you get sick? Water. Right? What's the basis of our healthcare system? It's water. If you don't have water, you don't have anything. If you feel that you can't touch the water in your community, your whole body feels uncomfortable. You feel diseased. You have nothing else on your mind for a whole day long. It's just water. Water is life, and water is truth. And Bernie Sanders was the first candidate to come out and say he was going to ban fracking in the United States of America. And is still the only candidate that is saying this. So I know that this man cares about our water supply all across the United States, and that's why he's here today. And I just want to say thank you to Bernie for having me. And just so you know that the problems that you're having here, this is a national issue. This is a national movement. We need to repair our infrastructure. We need to raise taxes on the 1% and on the corporations that have been taking advantage of us for too long, and fix these problems, because water is our public resource. It is our primary human right. And that is what we need as Americans. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Josh, for being here, for all the great work you've done for so many years. Let me go local again, and let's get back to Dina and Paula. Dina, describe for people who may not know it what the situation with regard to water is here, what local folks have tried to do, what kind of help you've gotten from the state or lack of help from the federal government, and where you plan on going with this issue.
Well, can everybody hear me pretty well?
Get that mic a little bit closer.
Okay, is this better? Yeah. Perfect. All right, wonderful, because I really want you guys to hear this. It's really important. So where we are right now, where we are is we've learned that for 10 years, DHEC instructed the city of Denmark to utilize halo sand in one of our city's public drinking wells in the well system at the Cox Mill well. They used it to treat iron bacteria and slime bacteria. It was only intended to be used for short term, never to have been used as for long term. When the idea came to use it long term, they were instructed by several agencies not to use it because they were unaware of the adverse effects it could have to the human body. No one knew. First of all, it's not EPA approved, not for the PWS. It's approved for pools and spas. So just imagine going to a hotel or a resort, and then the pool is being shocked, and they have a sign up that says you can't swim in that pool because they don't want your skin to be affected. We were ingesting this. I've only been ingesting it for a short time, which was from 2016 until the time that they had to stop last year. But all the citizens who were here, lifelong residents, have been consuming it for 10 years. So with that being said, we went through a lot of the DHEC reports, consent orders, sanitation survey reports that predate all the way back from like 2007 to where we are now. And it made me angry because, first of all, there was enough funding that came in to be able to do certain things to ensure that some of the things that are happening now never happen. But for whatever reasons, they were not done. The city of Denmark are repeat offenders when it comes to violations to their water quality control. And it seems as though DHEC has just basically slapped them with fines and warnings and citations, but no real plan as to how they were going to fix our dilapidated infrastructure. So where are we here today? Just last week, we learned that the city of Denmark had failed another sanitation survey report. Whereas over the last few years, from 2013 to 2016, they've been passing their sanitation survey reports. And this is the key takeaway I want people to understand how crucial this is. So the question is, if you were passing from 2013 to 2016, receiving awards from the EPA for doing a great job on passing, but not showing any documentation of what did you do to warrant you automatically passing, especially after failing for so long. No provisions were, no one checked. There was no accountability. And whose lives were at stake? Citizens. But this report that just came out last week, ironically, has same violations that were listed from 2007 to 2012. That lets us know right there, Halosan was also acting as a cover-up agent. Now, were they using it for that? I can't say. I can't make that assumption. But citizens now were instructed by a toxicologist to be a part of a human study. We were involuntary guinea pigs. We have high levels of lead, gasoline, manganese, iron, and other contaminants I can't even begin to pronounce. MTBE, which causes formaldehyde in the human body. 10 years. In addition to that, we've also discovered an illegal dumping site of raw sewage that's flowing into Little Sakahatchee River. Dr. Mark Edwards has already tested those grounds and found that there's over 15 years of buildup. Why? Why? Who's accountable for this? But our citizens pay extreme water bills for poisoned water that they can't even use, and then to question the water brings on repercussions. So you've got citizens who are afraid to question the water because they don't know what's going to happen after they question. So going forward right now, we're stuck in a pickle. And until our experts, we don't trust DHEC, we don't trust the EPA, we don't trust the city of Denmark, because they all protect each other. And at the end of the day, who protects the citizens? And that's why we as citizens have taken it upon our own accord to stand up to this injustice and say, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. And where do we go from here?
Okay. Where do we go from here? All right. Paula, let me ask you what the impact of the toxic water that you have been exposed to has meant in your life. When we were in your home, I saw a whole lot of water bottles there. All right. Tell me about your life once you discovered that the water you were exposed to was dangerous.
When I take a shower, after I take a shower, I started itching. I started breaking out. I had sores around my body. I can't sleep at night because I'm scratching because it bothers me. And also when I wash my clothes, it smells terrible. When I wash my clothes, anything is cotton, all is turning hard. Everything is turning hard. I had to hand wash certain clothes that I have, and I had to go and go to up to Blackville, South Carolina, Healing Spring to get water or to hand wash my clothes because I will not use Delmar water. It's really bad here. So also, I have something in my home. Could I say it? I can't say it now. No, he say I can say it. We are blessed. I can't even announce the name. On top of my home, I got two things on top of my home. My English very bad.
Oh, you could say that because that's a part of the solutions that we're
Okay,
gonna,
okay.
bring
So I
about.
put it on, top of the house, and I get water from the sun. So they had to take out one of my speakers in the house and put that in there, and then I can, long the sun is shining, I get water in the house, and I put it in different jugs, and then also I wash my hair with it. Yeah, 'cause if I wash my hair with the water that coming in from Delmont, South Carolina, I won't have any hair on my head today. I wouldn't have it. Serious. It's bad. And one thing I forgot to say to you, President, that Eugene Smith, he have lead in him from boiling water. When you boil water with lead in it, it make it more toxic. Then he found out the healing sand was in there. He was drinking all that for all these years till up to well, it been a couple of years since he stopped drinking it. Boiling water. He used the water from coming in the house from the sun. God has blessed us real nice to get this in our home because I was about to ready to leave this town. I said, I ain't going nowhere because we all God children. I love everybody. I ain't love my enemies because I have been threatened since I was going on radio. I was threatened. They're going to put me in a helicopter. They're going to throw me in the ocean. They're going to come in and put me in a car, drag me down the street. Also, one of the council up in Delmar, he told Big Dog to put me off the radio. He said it's not going to happen. Why is people so selfish? Why don't they just be nice and love each other? Where this world is going on now, we're supposed to love each other and do for each other. Look out for everybody. But where we going on in Delmar, South Carolina, the mayor don't care nothing about us. He not doing the right thing here. I mean, I got to say it, President, I have David evidence written and signed. This town got close to $30 million. What have they did? On my street, they put down new pipes. The pipe bust last year. Know what Big Dog say? They must didn't put it on right. No, they hooked good pipes to bad pipes. Yeah, that's right. This town is messed up. I hope I'm saying okay. I'm going too far now. Yes.
I was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, not Denmark, so it's all right.
Okay. I just want to tell you, another thing I want to say, with Dr. Mott Everett, he got us, me and Jean went to, in October last year, we went to Virginia Tech College. We stayed on there. Ooh, it's beautiful there. I got on the president jet and went to Minnesota. And we talked about our life living in that home with the bad water. We students, all that. They won the Kellogg Conference Award in Virginia, for Virginia College up there in Flick Mission. The only thing about when I was on that jet, the pill I took didn't even come out enough. And when that plane jet took off, I said, oh, Lord, have mercy. So I'm going to say one more thing. Dr. Mark Everett, only thing about the pill that made me eat, Dr. Mark Everett kept giving me all kind of snacks. That's where the medicine had me, kept eating. But we're going to pray. The president said he's going to bring us some water. Bless his soul.
Okay, before we open it up to your questions and your comments, I want Josh to briefly put Denmark within the context of what's going on in the country and in the world. How severe, how worried should we be about the water crisis?
But first, let me say the happy ending to my story. Because we bound together as groups of citizens, we were able to push back the oil industry. We were able to ban fracking in the upper Delaware River Basin. We banned fracking in the state of New York. We banned fracking in Vermont. We've banned fracking in 80% of all the countries in Europe. We've banned fracking in parts of Colorado, California. There's a movement, right? So movements work, movements matter, and they're always started by people like Paula Brown, who refuse keep talking until the problem gets solved. So, but I will say this, one thing that I can hear so clearly is your frustration. Your immense frustration with the regulatory authorities. And one of the things we have a deep problem with all across this country is our state departments of environmental protection or departments of environmental quality have a revolving door with industry. So you have people in the chemical industry who then take a job at DEP and then jump back to the chemical industry and then jump back to the DEP. And you have that same problem with EPA. And you have that same problem with lobbyists in Congress. So when you realize this, you realize that every politician who goes out there and campaigns for something has relationships, right? They have relationships with the oil industry, for example. They have relationships with pharmaceutical industry. I'm not naming any names right now, but you know who I'm talking about. And what I would suggest right now is he's looking at a relationship here that's going to the White House together. That's what we're doing. We go to the White House with this relationship first and foremost. So when you're talking about how do we address these problems, it's movements that really matter. Noisy, passionate, persistent, never say die movements. And that is what this campaign is. This campaign is a movement. This isn't something normal. This is something extraordinary because we are in an emergency. We're in a crisis in America. So when I hear what you're saying, I feel that this is so deep, right? Water is so fundamental to us. But I have hope when I'm in rooms like this. I have hope when we're actually all in a place listening together, because that is where you stop your pessimism. That's where you stop your feeling of isolation and feeling that you don't know how to go forward. That's what we do when we do this together. So that's where I put my faith and my stock.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Okay. Questions or comments? Gentleman there, sir. Stand up, please. Yeah. Give us your name, if you could.
Yes, my name is Dave Bailey, and I live across the street from Calder and Eugene. I've been in Denmark since 2005, and thankful to me, they raised my awareness, or my family's awareness, to the problems that we have with our water. And since they raised our awareness, 2007, we started purchasing water, in addition to paying the exuberant water bills that we get from the city. Now, I'm complaining about that in one context, and at the other context about the inability of the state, local governments to respond appropriately to the issues that we are experiencing. Now, I'm a vet, and I've been going to the VA regarding some health problems, rashes that I have on my body. That they give me all kinds of ointment, and it works temporarily. And I am very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about my future health. Seems like I'm falling apart from head to toe. And as fighting for this country, I damn sure don't appreciate that.
That's right.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Somebody grab the mic. There we go. All right, other comments or questions? Yeah, ma'am, right here. If you could stand up, please.
We traveled here today from Raven County, Georgia, which is southern Appalachia and the northeast Georgia mountains, because we are experiencing something similar, not nearly as drastic, and God bless you all. But we have a county that just built a $5.5 million water treatment plant on top of an old Burlington carpet factory, and Fruit of the Loom. They've been on the EPD list for 25 years as a toxic waste site, level 1 cleanup, 10 toxins in the groundwater, 5 in the soil, and they're pumping the actual drinking water out of the Little Tennessee River, which is loaded with pesticides, treating it, and then turning around and selling it, as you said, for exorbitant prices. We have aligned ourselves with the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League. They've been around since 1984. We're now a fully formed 501c3 chapter Rabun Gap chapter, and we're fighting them at the state level and the local level. These people will look at you like you got 3 heads, and they don't want to acknowledge that this is happening and that there's a huge disease load in Rabun County. There always has been lots and lots of cancers. We are working as just a handful of citizens, and we'd love your input, ladies. But
Okay.
anyway, we're experiencing the same kind
All
of
right,
thing.
thank you for sharing that. All right, this is.
Thank you.
Let me ask a quick question of local people. Why are the water rates so high here? Anyone know? Who controls, is this locally municipal water system?
There we go, right back there.
Okay, did you want to respond to that, ma'am? Can we get her a mic, please?
Okay. Senator Sanders, I didn't hear your question.
I'm sorry.
Why are the rates high?
Yeah,
I can't tell you why the rates are high. I would say even with the situation that we're in now, I'm sure with people are saying that they don't drink the water, it has to be extremely high to get water from another source. But my question I just want to give you some background. My name is Hope Long Weldon. I have been on Denmark City Council since 2009. In doing my research, I learned that there was a chemical injected into our water in 2008. We learned last year in the fall of the year what the chemical was. We learned that it was made here in South Carolina. We also learned that it was approved by DHEC, but it was not approved by EPA. Since that occurrence and since that information came out publicly, I have been in touch with DHEC. I've been in touch with EPA, at least 4 people from Region 6 and 4 in Atlanta, at least 4 people from Washington, D.C., and at least 2 other senators, our senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, our congressperson from South Carolina, and even after DHEC gave permission for the chemical to be injected into our water, they have not. Someone asked the question earlier, why don't the citizens believe the city, and why don't citizens believe the information? Citizens are skeptical because the information has never been cleared and shared with them. What Denmark is in need of at this particular time is a diagnostic assessment.
Yes.
A diagnostic assessment would allow citizens to know, after being injected with a chemical that's only used for swimming pools and spas, into the water line, what the end results would be. How can that not make your water different? And it does. But as I said, the state regulatory has refused to come to Denmark and say, listen, this is what happened. I had an email and a text from a representative from DHEC last year, and she said to me, we have redone our webpage. We want you to look at it. We want you to present the data that we're sending you to your people so they can be comfortable what it is with what we're sharing. I can't do that. I don't work for DHEC. I couldn't justify any of the diagnostic information that was inclusive in the information, and so I said to her, if you want me to convene a meeting, I will.
okay, let me interrupt you.
If you want me to encourage people to come to the meeting, I will encourage you. So that is where we are. I have compared Denmark very, very emphatically to Flint.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Hope. All right. Gentleman right here, sir, right here. Oh, no, because we don't have a lot of time, and I want to hear from
Yeah,
some
this
folks.
it won't take long. Ms. Paula, I'm a combat veteran, so if you need my services, just call me.
All right, thank you.
Because you got some crazy people out there.
Thank you.
So just give me a call.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, woman right there. Yes, yes, ma'am, right in front of you, the mic's there.
My question is a broader question for today. So, I talked to our South Carolina Congressman Clyburn recently, and he really liked this question. And he wanted me to ask you to give a detailed, concrete answer to how would the Green New Deal help, aid, impact Denmark, South Carolina, and other rural areas around South Carolina.
The Green New Deal is a broad outline. It's not geared toward Denmark, South Carolina. It is geared toward rural and urban. Look, if we are going, let's lay it out on the table. I think what Dina said earlier, we ain't going to get no place unless you tell the truth, right?
There you go.
And we may not like what we hear,
Right.
but you can't go forward unless you know the truth. So here's the truth. The truth is that climate change is an existential threat to our planet. That means if we don't get our act together in the next relatively few years, the planet we will be leaving our kids and our grandchildren will be increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. All right? That's not me. That is the leading scientist of the world. Now, to solve that problem is going to cost a lot of money. To not solve that problem will cost a heck of a lot more money and a lot more suffering. So this is not an either or. This is not an option. We have got, from a moral perspective, to save this planet for our children and our grandchildren. All right? That's expensive. And then you're dealing with a crumbling infrastructure, and what we're talking about now is water. Denmark is not the only town in America to be suffering from this problem. It exists, I suspect, in every state in this country. And you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. But by the way, when you talk about that investment in pipes and in wastewater systems, you're also talking about creating millions of good-paying jobs. So let's put our people to work rebuilding our infrastructure, rebuilding our water systems. And that's what the Green New Deal is about. It is an ambitious, expensive project. It is. But if you can give $1.5 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% in profitable corporations, you know what? We can invest in saving the planet and invest in clean water.
Can I add something brief to that? A lot of the times, these problems, the solutions to the problems actually converge. So if you have a hot water heater system on your roof where you're collecting rainwater, you can change the way you're heating the water, which eliminates a lot of use for fossil fuels and electricity. And you can also have that clean water for your home. So when you're talking about a Green New Deal, you're not just talking about phasing out coal, oil, and gas, which we absolutely have to do, but we're also talking about innovative solutions for how do we solve a lot of these environmental problems and a lot of these social justice problems at the same time, right? Because when you have a toxic facility in a poor community, we're talking about a Green New Deal. We're getting rid of those toxic facilities, and we're investing in those communities through solar, through wind, through water, through geothermal heating, through the things that actually liberate us from these problems from the get-go. So it's not just a question of climate change, but also local health, local employment, and investment in a community, right? A house with solar panels on the roof is worth more than a house without solar panels on the roof. So this is investing in your community, whereas the oil and gas industry destroys value in your
And by the way, and I apologize, we've got to run. One would think that in a very sunny and beautiful state like South Carolina, there would be a heck of a lot of solar. Wouldn't one?
Yeah.
All right. So this is, all right, I apologize. We have got to get going. But I really thank you. I'm surprised by how many people are here. And this tells me what I am increasingly believing, that this issue of pollution and environmental degradation in clean water is an issue very much on people's minds. Thank you all very much.